What's up, guys? Welcome to the Casual Horror Fan channel. Today, we have something a little bit different. I'm going to be reacting to the top 10 scariest movies according to Lost River Drive-In. He has one of my favorite channels on YouTube, so I thought it would be fun to react to his channel on a pretty popular video. Let's see whether I agree, disagree. We're going to hop right in, and I'll link it below. Obviously, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're probably already subscribed to him, but if you're not, you should, because he has one of the best channels on YouTube. But without further ado, let's hand it over to Nick from Lost River Drive-In. Skip forward a little bit, but
specific order. Every other movie here is just one of the movies that really scared me, so the spot of 10 or 5 really doesn't make any difference. And starting this off at number 10 is going to be John Carpenter's The Fog. Now, this
Nick, let's hear me.
This might actually be a deeper cut for some when it comes to being a truly scary movie. I don't really hear a lot of people say this movie scared them. It did scare me, however. My mom was a huge fan of John Carpenter films. It is the reason why I watched Halloween. And even before I saw The Fog, I was scared of it because my mom used to walk around the house doing the knock on random doors, on random tabletops, just to try to freak us out. And anytime it was foggy outside, she would quote this movie. This was before I knew what it was, so I knew I had to seek it out. Going into the movie with that in mind, I was freaked out. And this movie delivered. I mean, this is peak John Carpenter. He had an insane run there in the late 70s, early 80s that definitely gets talked about a lot, but I don't think it gets talked about enough because everyone talks about Halloween and The Thing, but The Fog is actually my second favorite Carpenter film. I said in the worst horror movies list video that I did, the remake got the most important aspect of this story wrong. It made The Fog a physical entity, when really it was an entity, but it was an omen. It was not exacting revenge on people. It's what was in the fog that was exacting revenge. And that's what makes this movie so terrifying, because you can take something so simple like a weather event, and every time you
Why is that doing that?
see it for the rest of your life, you're going to think about this movie and what could lie in the fog. This story is fantastic. I love the atmosphere of this movie, and this is slow burn John Carpenter at its finest. Not to mention zombie pirates, okay? Friggin' awesome. This scared the crap out of me as a kid, and it's still one of my favorite ghost stories ever. Next up at
Okay. Nick, The Fog is not scary. If I was a kid and I watched it, it would probably spook me. And I'll give you the mom knocks and all that. Totally, that's fair. This is a top 10 scariest horror movies Nick list. This is not a scary movie. Come on. This wouldn't even scare me at like 13 or 14. I might have like creeped me out a little bit. And I agree that the omen of the fog is creepy, right? And I agree that it's a good movie. I actually don't love it, but I think it's a good movie. But it's definitely not a top 10. Now, it's his list. But I think there's definitely 10 movies that would scare Nick significantly more than The Fog. Let's keep going. Disagree. This is not a top 10 scariest, at least not for me.
number 9, we have The Descent. And this is in the conversation for greatest horror film of the 21st century, in my opinion.
I'm with you, Nick.
This movie is terrifying, especially if you are claustrophobic. Okay, I understand being an adrenaline junkie. I'm kind of one myself. I love roller coasters, heights, all that kind of stuff. But there's a few things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to get in a submersible and try to go down to see the Titanic. I'm also not going to skydive, probably. And I'm not going to go down into a cave and go exploring. Nope, seen too many horror movies where that goes wrong. No thanks. The Descent is nightmare fuel. It is almost total blackness in so many areas of this film. And that's very realistic because that's how it would be underground like that. There are so many narrow passageways that just make you hyperventilate thinking about how you would get through it. And
okay, I'm with Nick 100%. Descent is absolutely terrifying. It's also just an amazing movie. This is interesting. So I didn't watch, and I like casual horror fan here, guys. I didn't watch The Descent for years, not because I didn't know about it. Everyone knew about this movie. It was because I was like cave diving. Yeah, I guess. Like somebody was like, dude, you have to watch it. And I watched it, and I'm so angry that I didn't watch this for years because it is phenomenal. What he said about the darkness is such a good point because it's really hard to do like a dark, like a scene, like a do stuff where it's supposed to have like very limited visibility because you have to be able to see the movie. This one does it right. Like it looks, you can still see, but it looks like you can tell that they can't see, and it looks authentic, right? The other thing, and I'm going out on a limb here, I don't totally rule out the possibility of something like this, like another race of humans that kind of adapted to live in these kinds of conditions. It's not totally implausible. I love it. It's a fantastic movie. Let's hear him out, though.
Then you have the advent of these flesh-eating creatures under there. Like, everything else isn't bad enough. You could get lost and never be found. You could not find your way back up to the top. You could run into something because you're not able to see. You could get stuck in a passageway and hyperventilate and suffocate. Oh, and we have just like demons down here. Friggin' scary, dude. I don't care who you are, even if you're not claustrophobic. Let's be real. The Descent is masterful. And this is one of those movies that
It is. I feel like it actually doesn't get enough love. I mean, like, people definitely consider it a great movie. I feel like people actually underrate this movie.
anytime anyone talks crap about the 21st century with horror films, I have to go, I'm sorry. Have you seen The Descent? This thing is friggin' scary. Next up at number 8 is going to be The Evil Dead. Now, you guys know that this isn't my favorite Evil Dead film. And if you didn't know that, you now know it. However, this is unequivocally the scariest film in the franchise. And this movie...
Agreed, this movie's scary as shit.
...gave me nightmares as a teenager. I didn't watch this till I was like 16 or 17. It shouldn't have impacted me the way it did.
Wait. The original Evil Dead? I thought you were talking about the remake, the 2013. Because I'm like, I know Nick's around my age. Nah, dog. Come on, that's crazy. We'll hear him out.
Yet it did. I love the kind of just point and shoot style and filmmaking that this movie is. Clearly, it's a couple of college kids with no money. They had ambition. They shot a movie. And everything about that kind of cavalier approach to filmmaking makes this movie freaking scary, dude. The effects, very simple because they couldn't go crazy with it. It makes it more realistic. These look like demonically possessed people. They don't look like these disfigured monsters that some of them would become in the later films. The fact that this is such a small group of people in a confined area where you know they're pretty much all doomed. There's just this impending doom that hangs over the entire film, and it's palpable. You literally can't help but feel it throughout. And then just the premise itself, when you think about it at face value, the hopelessness. You don't even know what you just started. You've got no idea. But once you find out and it starts to unravel, you realize nothing you can do is going to save you. Every single one of you will succumb to this and eventually die a horrible, painful death, all for just reading a couple words out of a book. I mean, I have to give credit where it's due. Although it's not my favorite of the series, this is definitely the scariest. And I think this movie is quite a way to start a career for Sam Raimi. Next.
Okay. It has creepy elements. It has scary elements. And if I was a teenager, I think it would have scared me. But I didn't watch this until I was an adult, and I just can't agree that this is on my top 10 list, man. Again, I'm comparing my list, or what I would consider a top 10 scariest movie or not. It's just not that scary. The special effects, yeah, I mean, they're fine for what they are, but like what they are is very low budget and not that great. I agree, concept is awesome, but they don't deliver that well on the concept. I think the 2013 remake is scary as crap. That movie's horrifying. I went into it kind of blind and was like blown away by it. This one, it just doesn't do that much for me. But I'm also just not a big Evil Dead guy. Like, I'm not even going to watch this new one. But anyway, we'll keep on.
Up at number 7 is going to be 1979's Alien. And I'm aware that most people look back on this franchise and they think about it as a sci-fi action series. And that's fair. However, this is a terrifying movie. It didn't start as these big budget shoot 'em up alien movies. No, it started as a few people floating in space all alone with an unwanted passenger on board. And that in and of itself, being in space, you are helpless. Nobody can hear you scream. No one's going to come save you. You're trapped on this ship with whatever the hell gets on board. And it just so happens that what gets on board is a friggin' alien that will rip you limb from limb. Furthermore, the face hugger bit. Dude, no. All right. I hate spiders. Okay. So anything that resembles a spider, I'm not cool with. Then you take that and you go, hey, it also wraps around your neck and your face and you can't get it off. And then it implants a baby into your esophagus, down into your stomach, and well, chest, I guess, and then bursts out a little bit later and you die. Bro, what are we even talking about? I don't care if you don't see Alien as horror on the whole. I get that. But that original film is horrifying, and it gave me nightmares as a child. I didn't want to go to space anymore. Every kid wants to be an astronaut. After Alien, I was like, fuck that. Coming in sixth place.
Okay. I love the Alien. The Alien is amazing, and it's definitely scary. I definitely have it on my top 10 greatest horror films of all time, but I definitely don't have it on my top 10 scariest of all times. Sci-fi horror doesn't do that much for me from a scare factor. And I don't know, I'm more of a supernatural, folk horror, even cosmic at times. That can really get under me. I think it is scary. And if I was like 12 when I watched it, I think it would have scared me a lot more. But I watched this as an adult, well, maybe like my late teens. I watched this, and I just can't say it's like that scary. I mean, it's more like the premise and the concept. It's amazing, by the way. It is one of the greatest movies of all time. It's definitely one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But I just don't find it that scary. Definitely not on my top 10 list.
It is going to be Poltergeist.
Bro, Poltergeist? Let's hear him out.
And I am happy to say that this is one of those movies that still to this day scares the crap out of me. Only a few moments, but still very effective. Look, there's something about the tone of Poltergeist because it begins with this happy family in this nice neighborhood and they think they have an infestation, but it's fun. It's playful. Everything's great, right? One, that scared me already as a kid because I'm like,
I agree on that. I think that's really brilliant writing there.
Why would you be friends with a ghost? Absolutely not. This is not cool. But furthermore, you know something is coming. You know it's not going to stay that way. This won't be a happy family bringing in a ghost and just adding them to the mix. Poltergeist is chock full of horrifying moments once it really gets going. First of all, you're never going to look at a TV screen with white noise the same ever again. I don't
also true.
Care who you are. The bathroom scene in the mirror is awesome. And I don't think any of us at one point in our lives have not looked in a mirror and thought of that exact moment before. The scene where the ghostly apparition comes down the steps still gives me goosebumps. As a 31-year-old man, it's so simplistic, yet it's so eerie. The real human skeletons at the end of the film. The freaking clown. A tree that comes alive. You're not safe from anything in this movie, and that is horrifying. It made me scared of the most mundane things, and still today it is effective. I don't care who you are, Poltergeist is scary as hell. All right.
Okay, good sale. He did a good sell there. All right. I want to give him credit because he's right. The TV, the white noise on the TV was scary as shit, and it still kind of will make you think of that movie. And it's been memed endlessly, and it's super iconic scene. Even think back to like Samara, and it's like, yeah, they kind of stole that a little bit, didn't they? It's just not that scary. I watched this as a kid. Like I was the only one in my family. Well, not really. My brother is actually still kind of into horror, but I was the only like horror freak in my family where I wanted to constantly watch horror. I mean, my parents rented from Easy Video in Ramsey, New Jersey. And I remember watching on like their little TV, you know, the cassette on their little TV. It was probably like 12 by 12, something like that. And expecting to just be like blown away. And there were definitely elements of it that were scary, but it just gets so goofy towards the end, man. Oh, this is so not a top 10. I mean, this is not on my top 10 list. It's like when we're talking about scary, I would put this in the just not scary category. And I love haunted house, paranormal, supernatural. Definitely creeps me out. That'll always get me, or that'll generally get me. This movie didn't, and I'm gonna have to say this would definitely not make my list. But we will carry on.
Top 5. Now, I want to say before we get to the honorable mentions at the end here, I also wanted to mix this up a little bit. These are not the only 10 movies that scared me, but there was multiple things I could have doubled down on, and I didn't want to. If you've watched the previous videos, you've heard me talk about those movies. So at
That's
number
fair.
5 is going to be Jeepers Creepers. And this, right there with The Descent and Hereditary, are some of the most effective films of this century. There's something about this premise. Like, you're just on a drive in the countryside with your sister, going home from school, and you see a dude throwing bodies down a pipe. That is already terrifying.
And then you decide to go down the pipe and you lose me. Anyway, we'll keep on going.
Enough. Because you have this feeling, okay, well, he's going to track them down. He's going to know they were there. But once Derry goes down there and you see this mausoleum underground, I can't even begin to explain to you how messed up that was for the first time when I saw it. Like genuine nightmare fuel. Then the creeper does find them, and his methods of playing with his food are horrifying. The more we see of the creature, we are terrified. This movie just has everything working for it. It is a slow burn, but you are engaged. You want to know more. And one of the biggest compliments I can give the film is that they don't give us those answers. They want you to be left asking questions. They also want you to crap your pants. I did both. And still, to this day as an adult, while it's never going to impact me the same way it did as a kid, this movie is still freaky as hell. And to add on top of it, my mom lives 15 minutes away from where this entire film was shot. I visited the filming locations, and even though I know it's a movie, that shit's scary. Next up in fourth.
That's pretty cool, but I'm just not a Jeepers Creepers guy, guys. And it has nothing to do with the writer, director. You know, sure, all that stuff's awful, but that's not why. I just don't. I can't get past Derry going down there. I just can't. It drives me nuts. You would never do it. He's not really looking to save anyone. It seems so. This has to happen because the movie has to go forward. And I just think it was cheap and it throws me out of the movie. On top of that, the creeper's just not that scary to me. I don't know. It's a monster. He just doesn't do that much to me. I don't like the makeup. I don't like the costume. It's just, I'm not, and I like Justin Long. I think his performance is pretty good in this, and I like the sister. I'm just not a Jeepers Creepers guy, guys. I think if I had watched this as a teen, it would have done more for me. But I watched this as an adult. I'm just not a.
The Ring. And I've talked about this movie plenty on my channel. I've even done a revisited video a couple months ago where I just lauded this thing. Check it out if you haven't already. Look, I understand that there's a lot of people that saw Ringu first, and rightfully so. It was the first one. And I know a lot of people will hold that film in high regard and say nothing comes close. I respect that. I didn't see Ringu till a couple months ago for the first time. So I didn't have the 20 years of experience, of fear, of nostalgia, like that 2002 movie gave me. I loved Ringu, but this movie just hits different for me. We rented this movie when I was a small kid. I think I was like 9 years old. And we watched it as a family because it was PG-13, right? The opening sequence alone will scare anyone, I think. And furthermore, this movie just gets creepier and creepier.
It does. It does.
It's not bad enough that the imagery in this tape is just super weird and makes you feel like it's cursed, even though it's a movie. You don't want to watch the tape on a TV screen.
You don't.
Like, that had an effect on people, a real one, and I was one of them. Secondly, there's so much mystery to this Samara character. And more specifically, you don't know what she looks like, and you don't find that out until the end. And that image will be burned in your brain forever. This movie has just a way about it, and that's Gore Verbinski. The mood and the atmosphere in this film is like next level. I have seen very few horror movies be able to do this. That has to do with the music, the color palette, the way that they have sucked all life out of the picture intentionally. So you're just watching like nearly 2 hours of depression on screen. And that puts you in a mood where anything, even remotely freaky, is going to stick with you. The Ring terrified the crap out of me. And even watching it a couple months ago for the first time in years, it's still freaky. All right, now we're...
All right. So this is an interesting pick because we're around the same age. We're both millennials. And I've said this before. This movie does not get enough credit for how iconic it was. This terrified. It was like if you're a millennial, it was like Sixth Sense scared the shit out of you, and then not that much. You had the Saw, and then The Ring, and those were the two movies that like traumatized a generation of millennials. I remember, like, he has this memory of watching. I remember I was at Ryan Hollander's house, and I remember I looked away when they did the Samara showing, but he had the windows, he had windows in the back of the room, so you could see it was night, and the light, I could still see, and I was just absolutely terrified. Didn't want to pick up the phone, and this was everyone. It wasn't just one. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was terrified. It was one of those last true cultural horror movies that everyone saw. Everyone knew, got the memes. Everyone got the references. I don't know if it's held up as well. I have watched it again. I remember not loving it on the second watch. I was a good bit older. I'll have to watch it again. So no hate. I mean, no hate for any of these picks, but like, I don't think it's a crazy take, but I don't know if it would make my top 10 today.
We're in the top three, and this top three is indisputably my top three. And a number three is going to be The Conjuring. I have talked ad nauseum on my channel about this franchise, and there's a lot of misses in it, but there's some really big hits. And The Conjuring was quite the way to start it off. I was 18 years old, going on 19. I took my girlfriend at the time to go see this movie opening night. Why not? It's a horror film. Everyone's talking about it. This is one of the only times in my entire life where I have sat in a theater and been like, I don't know if I want to look at this. And that is all credit to James Wan. James Wan can tell a haunted house story like nobody else. I mean, he is genuinely the master at that of this century. This movie is a super effective ghost story for most of it. Things that you don't see, but hear. Things that you think you're about to see, but James Wan tricks you. Things that are so simple, like pictures falling off a wall, that scare the absolute crap out of you. There are such iconic horror scenes in this movie that made me jump like no other movie has. Hide and clap? Absolutely not. I'm never going down in that basement anyway, okay? Period. I don't care what's down there. You can tell me there's $1 billion, and I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks. And then you get to the third act, and you have the possession take place. And Bathsheba is the stuff of nightmares. I even get chills when I say that name. I'm not even kidding you. I remember the first time I saw that demon woman on screen, and I was like, no, absolutely not. Never again. And as much as I love The Conjuring 2, and I do think it's a better film, The Conjuring, in my opinion, is way scarier and is still the scariest theatrical experience I've ever had. Next up.
Okay. I think I'm the weird one here because I love haunted house. I love possession films. I mean, this is a Christian channel. I try to get with Christian perspectives. So these are actually the films that I'll be more drawn to, that I think speak to this good and evil, this cosmic or metaphysical reality that surrounds all of us. And yet, I'm not that big of a Conjuring guy. I don't really know why. I think I piecemealed this movie when I first watched it, and it kind of threw me off. Like, again, I'm notorious for falling asleep during horror movies, even if I like them, or any movies, even if I like them. And right now, I'm actually working on a Conjuring universe. I'm going to watch all of them all the way through. So I want to give a fair rating, but as of now, this would definitely not make my top 10. Not that I think it's bad. It never really terrified me the way it did. And like, I watched this when it came out. It just didn't freak me out the way it did others. But let's keep on going. I think it's a fair pick, but it definitely doesn't make my top 10.
Up at number 2 is going to be one that I will keep a little more brief because if you've been watching this series of videos, you've heard me talk about it. And that is The Exorcist.
Agreed. This is definitely on my top 10.
I don't know what else to say. I saw it at a young age and it traumatized me.
Yeah.
It made me look at the world differently. See, I grew up in a religious household. We went to church every Sunday. That was just something we did. We were told about the evils in the world, but I had never seen it actualized. In this movie, I did. And I started to actually worry. Am I going to get possessed by a demon? Am I going to become Reagan? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to die? Dude, like so much that a child should not be exposed to, that I was exposed to, that forever changed me. It changed my path. I became a fan of horror movies not long after that. And I felt like if I could stomach that movie and survive and not get possessed all these years later, then I could stomach anything. I don't need to talk about The Exorcist any more than that. But for me, the scariest movie.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, I think we have two so far that would make both of our lists. The Exorcist is definitely top 10 scariest movie of all time. It still holds up. I mean, something he didn't talk about is like the music. Just like the music in it is just absolutely terrifying. I mean, even it being, and I'll go back to Exorcist, even it being memed in Exorcist 2 is still scary. Like that opening scene is just absolutely awful. Everything about it, even the cover, right, where it's like that what he had just shown. We can go back a little bit. Um, like that alone is just terrifying, and I don't really know why. I think it's just because it's just foreboding, like what is to come. There also, for guys of our age, this was like the movie, right? So like going into it, it was like the scariest movie ever is The Exorcist, and like you probably shouldn't watch it because you're going to be terrified forever. So you go in with those expectations, but it actually delivers on it, right? Um, it's awesome. It's also just a great movie. I think it's actually a beautiful story in a lot of ways. Definitely, but we're talking about scary. It hits. The effects still stand up somehow. It's amazing. Definitely makes my list. I agree 100%. I watched it young, but I watched it probably closer to 12, 13. I don't know when he said young. I don't know if he meant like 12, 13 or like 7, 7, 8, 9. I don't know.
One you've heard me talk about, but I'm glad to talk about it again, and that is Pet Sematary. I talked about how as a kid, there were things about this movie that just horrified me. I mean, first and foremost, Zelda. Like,
Yeah,
what child or teenager, when they watched this movie for the first time, was not freaked out by Zelda?
right.
And if you tell me you weren't, then I don't know, you saw some messed up stuff because Zelda scared the crap out of me. Then you have the advent of your pet dying, and that's sad. So that scares you because I grew up in a household where we always had pets and I never wanted to see them die. Then I became older and I became a father to a little boy, and everything about Lewis's plight and what happens to Gage is the most horrifying stuff in this movie. To see a father broken like he is and go to the ends of the earth, literally, and back to bring his child back to try to rectify that mistake, only for that child to come back and become a demonically possessed murderer, horrifying, genuinely horrifying. I don't know how a parent could lose a child. I really don't. And I hope that myself and everybody watching this video that has kids never has to experience that.
For sure.
Because even if they don't come back as a demonically possessed murderer, that is the scariest thought that I can have as a parent. And furthermore, when he has to put Gage down, nah, I can't even stomach that. Okay. I love this movie. It's horrifying. It's horrified me for years and years and years in many different ways. But it is incredibly difficult for me to watch because it hits way too close to home. And damn it, Mary Lambert, I don't know what happened with Pet Sematary 2, but this movie is a friggin' masterpiece. So there you
Okay. All right. So, Pet Cemetery. As a kid, I had a very similar experience. I remember where I was when I first saw it. I was at J.R. Rella's house. I couldn't have been a day over 8 years old. And I remember screaming and crying and being haunted by the image of Zelda for years. Later on in life, and I don't really know why, my brother must have picked up the movie and we would watch it over and over and over again. And every time, without fail, it was absolutely horrifying. Primarily Zelda. If I used to have like an attic, I used to have like an attic room, and if my brother literally said Zelda, or we would say like, "I'm gonna break your back, Jenny," I would actually like break down in fear and like run downstairs. I mean, jump over a banister to get downstairs. This movie as a child was absolutely terrifying. Even like into my teens. I then watched it as an adult. I want to say I watched it in my 20s, and I thought it kind of didn't age so well and it didn't really scare me. However, when I was in my early 20s, I did not have a child and I was not the child of a young boy. And when Nick gives I've heard him give that pitch before. I don't really want to watch it, guys. I don't really know if I want to watch it. There's certain things that I don't really want to expose myself to, and that kind of living that pain vicariously through this, or empathetically through this character, is not something that I don't know if I'd handle it so well. I mean, I'm sure I would be fine, but I just don't know if I want to be that depressed and to have to, think about these kind of unbearably tragic things. So I guess I will get around to it again because this was so iconic to my childhood. But as of now, I definitely have no issues with being on a top 10 list. I don't know if I would add it to mine just because of that later watch. But also, I feel like I need to give it a watch as an adult because now I'm literally a child I mean, I'm literally the father of a young boy. But that also scares me and makes me want to avoid it. Either way, I think that's totally a fair pick. I could see it being on my top 10, but right now it would not be. I think that's probably only got two. But anyway, I want to thank Lost River Driving for making an awesome video for us to react to. And if you guys like this video, I hope that you'll subscribe. I'm also going to link Nick's video. Make sure you subscribe to his channel if you haven't. Again, you probably are. And otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. I am out.